more, I guess, on the last video because I started like sputtering. I can't guarantee I won't do it again, but like there was a minute where I was talking about nothing for a second. Anyway, if so many people have like a difference or an issue with what the consensus is, or like, you know, like basically what people know, and there's like, you know, good reason for a lot of people to argue that what people to know today is full of errors. I mean, they fucked with schools like for a while, so like education and everything. I was like, I don't know how they're accomplishing that with a lockdown and shit. They seem to be more focused on like making their settings astringent and having cubicles, and like if they're gonna come to school, like there's all this energy and resources going into whether or not your cubicle was wiped down before and after you left it or something. Like that it was like they're not really trying, like, or they're trying to mess with it, like they like there's a different they, like it could be, I could be talking about fucking aliens, I could be talking about a unionization stratagem with like an ulterior motive. Is stratagem mental? I mean, it is like they're doing mesmerism on us, or they're trying to use mentalism tricks on us or something to distract, right? Or trying to be disruptive. In their way, they're disrupting, you know? But we can't it's hard to make the argument and put the blame on who it is. So we're upset with, you know, the consensus, and therefore we have to hold those who taught whoever what they know accountable for what they know. If you consider it to be a fallacious, you know, like if you consider it to be going nowhere, because that would be like a curse, to be like going around in circles and never getting anywhere, any progress, or out of any unfavorable circumstances. They just like continue, because we know that like bureaucracy at one point in time was an emergency measure, and that it worked, and after it worked and the emergency was over, we kept the bureaucracy, and now you know, it's red tape, right? Like bureaucrats tie you up in red tape. There's like reason why, like maybe there's some aspect of an emergency that makes bureaucracy good, and then there's some like aspect of it being over, which is like, okay, why are you guys like there's an ulterior motive, because you wouldn't operate like this normally. We're not exploiting our advantage, and it's disconcerting. It's disconcerting that the institutions or whatever, like, that we can fix, or that it seems like there's favorability toward an incurable, treatable illness instead of a curable illness that you won't have to treat indefinitely. So like or a manageable crisis zone where the belligerents can test technologies and confine and the conflict to an area that it wouldn't break out of, sort of like a demilitarized zone. Like we need a second demilitarized zone, okay, because the bureaucrats need more tools to implement whatever it is that they're saying, that because they're, you know, hired on to solve it. and fix it, but they may have different reasons than when they started. Like at first, that they wanted to do some good and try to help the population, and then like they lost interest in that, and like so many of them do. Then there's like, what's that? Like, what causes all of these statesmen to become bureaucrats? And we have to actually know whether or not it's an emergency or a crisis, or whether or not it's red tape. And that's why we need representation and everything. So but the bureaucrats just want to keep passing bills. Like there might be at some point in time that we need to pass a bill, but since we're like always passing bills, like it's hard to push the pebble. You can't even push the pebble when there's a reason for you to actually want to affect something like that with the bill, right? Muscular dystrophy sounds curable, but that was before we had the cure, right? Then muscular sclerosis sounds incurable, right? But that's the same thing. We just change the name. Like once we have the incurable treatable form, then the name changes. Also, with regards to scientists, like somebody can become a developer. They would draw from the talent of the talent pool of like this of the best scientists, right? That are willing to ignore some aspect of reason, but they can't be a scientist anymore once the findings have come in. So like findings would be a conclusion to something, and the interest in developing any kind of ingenuity could be used for good or evil. So like any type of ingenuity, like once the findings are in from experiments, that's when you end the experiments. So the statement that experimentalism must come to an end could mean that, or it could be lamenting that they're developing technologies to use against us, right? Even from evil, something good can arise from evil. And then there will just be another form of ingenuity that we can use for good or evil. This shit, as we know, has gotten out of control of the whatever group of people that rules from the unseen. Like you can't rule people from the point of the focal point, like where everybody sees you as the leader. Like there has to be some entity or person. Like an entity could be a partnership or a group of people that are unseen, and like we don't know who they are, right? Basically, which allows them to accumulate like a lot of power. So we were like, why is James Elefantis, the 53rd most powerful person in Washington? I mean, 53 seems far away from the most powerful, but like, what does he do? Like, when we got onto that question, like what does he do? Like, what makes him that powerful? That's when they started coming up with a bunch of theories that people didn't even have, and putting them forth as our theories so that they could mock and ridicule your inquisitiveness, right? So even before, like you say, you can say that a scientist doesn't need a title to be able to perform data retrieval. Like, he's just really good at that. Like, maybe he's in his blood. Like, maybe he's just the best. Okay. He can, find out. So, BOB sent 2 cameras on a weather balloon up to look at the curvature or the lack therein of curvature. He put one flat angle lens and one curved, like conical or whatever lens. So you can analyze both photos that they take. And he was ridiculed just for doing the experiment, right? Not for being a flat earther, because you can't, because he was trying to find out. He had reserved his judgment until he can look at the evidence. But just the fact that he was looking for evidence, they like ridiculed him, right? Like, you couldn't be taken seriously anymore, even though you don't know if, you might have a great feeling that the earth is flat or round, or a sphere. But from your vantage, you haven't looked at any evidence to contrary. So it's like there's more perspective. Like, even if it does turn out to be a sphere, where you're standing, if you look around, it looks pretty flat, So, I don't know, it was like, they do this to keep us fighting, but maybe they do this to escape persecution, for psyop, and go after all the intellectuals, because somebody's responsible for teaching us what we know. And then it comes down to platforming. And you can see that people are like recommending what you should do with your platform, or crying because you're doing the wrong thing with your platform. And they're saying like, you have so much power if you only just did what I tell you to do. And it's like, you don't know that. They start fucking with the platform, like reporting it, all kind of like. There's some kinds of ways of reporting that it takes longer to get to the bottom of it, so they'll at least choose that. Like, oh, you're some kind of like developing some kind of technology, like this weaponized technology, then they would flag your channel, and then the process to make sure that you're not doing it would be like forever. And then you want to go back and interface with the same population and tell them the score after, but they won't, like, that's things they've done in secret, right? And then they want to be the voice. It's so weird. Like the quartering, right? Or something like that. They don't even really know what is advertising. So they tell these terrible stories that gross people out. And then they have to try to filter through like the feedback, and whether or not I recognize or even know you is a thing. Like, oh, like they'll be like, that person's views don't mean anything because I don't never heard of this person before. Like, they're irrelevant or something like this. We're trying to, I don't know, like you would have to become like a tin horn dictator or something to basically ban the internet. Like in Iran, like the internet's illegal because all the mullahs are homos, and they swear up and down that there's no gay people like in Iran. Like maybe they throw them all off of buildings or something like that. You should be able to know everybody who's free speech or not pro free speech, but sometimes something will happen to a person that will change them. So then you have to like when the second time you look at them, you don't get the same. Something changed your mind about them. You could have been right the whole time and still right. Like it could change. It can change, but even when you liked them, you were right. And then when you decided why you didn't like them, you were also right.